Thank you to the ranking member. I now recognize the gentleman from Louisiana, Mr. Higgins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Admiral, thank you for being here with us today. How are your men, sir? The men under your command? How are they doing as we're moving into this Christmas season and under the leadership of your new position, relatively new? You've just been there a few months. How are your men?
Sir, thank you for asking about that. Our teams are incredibly resilient. We've had some tough years. We are watching some of our assets kind of deteriorate, and we're working hard to get them new ones. But again, I think if you look back in their year review of the nation, from the Key Bridge failure to lots of search and rescues, our teams have gone out, and our teams like hard work. They like tough jobs. And I think they're doing well. Thank you very much for asking.
Yes, sir. I've always been struck by the professionalism of the men and women of the Coast Guard, and in my humble estimation, your most valuable asset are those men and women. Deteriorating ships are a significant consideration, but they're of minor importance if you have deteriorating men and women. So I believe we're entering a new era. The incoming Trump administration and the slim majority of Republican control in the House and a unified government with Republicans that are committed to helping the Coast Guard in both chambers of Congress and the White House. I believe there'll be a new emphasis on restoring our maritime assets to achieve our national security goals, and the importance of the role that the Coast Guard plays can really not be overstated. So the polar regions offer particular challenges for Coast Guard patrol and operations, clearly because of ice and the incredibly challenging conditions of traversing the sea in the polar regions. So the delays that you have faced that have been caused by sort of failures to navigate through maneuvering authorities within the Coast Guard and the means by which your designs move forward, contracting challenges. We fully expect that you and your team will address those things, and I'm here to reassure you that you're going to have a Congress and a White House that's going to fully support Coast Guard operations, including in the crucial polar regions. So I have an optimistic view of these things because I know my shipbuilders, and they're a bunch of badasses, and they get the job done. And I need my office to be in regular communication with you, good sir, and your office. Before the Christmas season is over, your office will receive a letter from my office outlining the contact data from my senior staff that's assigned to help the Coast Guard in all matters and prioritizing the projects that we see partnering with in the coming years under your command. Regarding the procurement from small shipyards impacted by inflationary measures, this is some area you could really help, and I'd like you to answer this question, please. In what ways can you envision the Coast Guard to improve the means by which you synchronize your response to the requirements and requests of ERAs, equitable adjustments, the impacts of inflation, supply chain interruption, workforce interruption, et cetera? Can you please address how you plan to handle that?
Yes, sir. Thank you for that question. I would say two things. When we start to look at our industrial base of this nation, we're not going to be able to solve the problems that we have in this industrial base one contract at a time, whether that's Navy, whether that's Coast Guard, or whether that's commercial. We need to make sure we're investing within those within those small shipyards and large shipyards to get that industrial base. The second thing I'd say is when you look at that, because we haven't invested, we look at some of these individual contracts and prices skyrocketing when the maritime inflation rate over the last 4 years equals what it was the previous 20 years. So there has been a lot of cost escalation in there. That said, we need contractors that are willing to build tough and complex ships. And if we're not willing to give them an equitable adjustment when they understand what it takes to build and make those, then we are not going to have those shipyards around to help us out. So, yes, sir, we are looking at equitable adjustment.
Thank you, Admiral. You can consider me and my office at your avail, and we'll partner in the coming years.